Security, escort this gentleman out, please.
Come on, Soda Pop, let's go.
Council would appreciate that. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Jay Major. I'm a paramedic, CEO of MedStar Ambulance and MedStar Dirt Track Race Rescue. None of us here are without fault. We've all made mistakes in our lives and our careers. There's no doubt, and I've made my share of them. But there's some things I think we need to work through, and I think we'll have some time to work through them here. We're stronger together than we are apart. It was over a year ago we had our differences, and I'm not here for those differences now because that issue has been taken care of. But we still have some issues that need to be taken care of. Last year, I approached Paramedics Plus with a mutual aid agreement. And I was told then that they would not sign a mutual aid agreement, but they would sign a agreement to where they can come and help me, but I can't come in the city and help them. That's the agreement that I signed. And I signed that for one reason, because if I needed help in the county, I wanted there to be no misunderstanding that I had an agreement signed, although it wasn't reciprocated in the city. In the last month or two, when the things that have been going on all year finally came to light, and we can talk our way around this as we did earlier today, and you weren't here for that, Mr. Mayor, but we can talk our way around the issues that we have in this city. The fact is, there's people out there that have issues, and we need to listen to them and not laugh at them. I am totally for a mutual aid agreement in the city of Sioux Falls. One was sent to me. I read it, and I don't agree with it in its form. And I texted Mr. Mark Postma, and I asked him if we could get together and discuss this the next time he was in town, and that was on June 10th, and I've heard nothing since that date. We have since been called into this city 11 times. 11 out of the 11 times, we did no transports, and we covered our ambulances back in our own territory, which is an expense to us. The other thing is we stood by your fire department on a fire scene for an hour and a half. And we'll continue to do that because although I was born here, I live here, I'm going to raise my kids here, I'm not moving. And in 5 years from now, when you decide you may or may not want another ambulance service, I'm still going to be here providing a service someplace. I'm not going anywhere. The people of this great state and this great city of mine, they're family members, they're friends, and that's why I fought so hard a year ago, and that's why I'm here today. It's because I care. And I just hope and pray that we can somehow come to some conclusion on our differences and not just do things for looks, but do them for action. I'm not signing an agreement so it looks good for anybody. I will sign an agreement if it has action that's connected with that signing. And I'm willing to sit down with the people with Paramedics Plus and the city of Sioux Falls and even REMSA, who I've had my issues with. And I'm absolutely willing to work and get things worked out to the betterment of this city and the surrounding area. And that's really why I'm here today. I'll probably be back next week, but thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you listening.
Thank you. Thanks, Jay. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
I'm here with the same argument that he
And
has.
sir, your name,
My
please?
name is Ronald Murray. I live in
Mr. Murray,
Sioux
welcome.
Falls, South Dakota. I had a run-in with your new ambulance service, Paramedics Plus, on December 5th at 2 minutes to 1 o'clock. I called your ambulance service. Within 6 minutes, they were there at my house, which was great. They come with 2 ambulances, but when they transported my wife, she was having a heart attack when I called in. They come into the house. The firemen were already there. They told me to leave the room so they could work on my wife. We went out and moved the furniture so they get the gurney in to haul her out. The next thing I see, and the firemen are standing there with their eyes wide open. The wife's walking out in her bare feet, going outside at, I don't know what the temperature was on December 5th, but gets on the gurney out in the driveway. I goes in and calls my children. They took me 2-3 minutes to get them up. I went outside and the ambulance is still sitting in my driveway. I knocked on the back door and got EMT opened up the door and he says, when we get the fingernail polish off her finger, we'll be able to get her oxygen level taken, and then we'll be heading to the hospital. The neighbors were all up, so I notified them, which was about another 5 minutes, and the ambulance was still there. So I went on, knocked on the door, and the paramedic inside said, "Take off. This guy's getting mad at us." So they took off. They shut off their lights. They drove up the street, and of course, well, we went one way and I went the other way. They stopped for every street light. My wife was having a heart attack. And so I contacted Paramedics Plus, and they said they'd followed all appropriate actions. My wife had a massive heart attack, and if this is the way Paramedics Plus drives around town with people with heart attacks laying in the back, turns off their lights, there's no reason to have their lights on for any other occasion if they don't do it for a heart attack patient. And the person that runs Paramedic Plus said they did everything appropriately according to the contract they have with the city. So if this is appropriate, that they have heart attack patients that don't get proper care, we should look at renewing the contract. And another thing I'll tell you is they took an EKG at 19 minutes after. They never sent it to the hospital. So the hospital, the paramedic in the back said, "Your wife is having a panic attack." So they treated her for a panic attack till 3 o'clock in the morning, till the doctor could see her. Then finally the doctor took an EKG, and they said, "Everybody out of the room, we got to get her to cardiac. She's having a massive heart attack." But we should look into renegotiating the contract with Paramedics Plus and get an emergency service here in Sioux Falls that treats everybody fairly, so this tragedy does not happen to another person in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I thank the City Council for listening to me. I get it off my chest. Thank you.
You're welcome, Mr. Murray. Welcome. Thank you. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening. My name is Joy Tusher. The First Amendment to the Constitution reads, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances." The public tour of the Midco Aquatic Center violated the freedom of the press by refusing Bruce Danielson's constitutional right to film the construction progress. Be it also known that South Dakota is a one-party consent state in terms of recording, meaning that anyone can record anything electronically and be the only person with knowledge that that recording is taking place. Rather than using hidden cameras, Bruce, believing he had nothing to hide and being constitutionally protected, intended to record openly. While Bruce may act independently of local television and print media, he was fully within his rights, as am I as an independent journalist and advocate. What would have been the harm? I actually got off a couple of pictures at the beginning of the tour before I was told pictures were not allowed. Rather than press the issue, I acquiesced, knowing Bruce was in the next tour group and would be filming it. I stand before you perplexed. Are you afraid of him having the ability to document a work in progress that may or may not result in issues later? Now, concerning the multi-million-dollar tax-funded Midco Aquatic Center, I am terribly concerned about how accessible this facility will be for those of us with disabilities. I met with architect Sean Irvin, Tori Medema, Sioux Falls Park Development Specialist, and Colleen Moran, our city assistant attorney and ADA coordinator, not once last year, but twice. During the first meeting, I learned that there was only going to be one accessible bathroom in each of the locker rooms. Once again, this city is choosing to use the ambiguity of the ADA and including in the count of accessible bathrooms the 4 family changing rooms that just happen to be accessible. First and foremost, their signage is going to read family, nothing about being ADA compliant. So you have a therapy pool to accommodate dozens of people and only 1 accessible bathroom, and each and every one of the powers that be seems to be very content with that. Only when it affects you as an individual will you truly understand the error of your ways. Pity. And our city's highly paid and supremely unqualified assistant attorney and ADA coordinator did not bring the specific related ADA codes to the first meeting purposely. It's a good thing I had mine with me. Disconcerted, I called for a second meeting where I brought a friend who uses a motorized wheelchair and has the experience with pool lifts that I lack. She explained the kind of pool lift she appreciates for her disability, questioned the number of accessible bathrooms, issued her concerns about the limited parking for the disabled, and asked how safe her $45,000 motorized wheelchair was going to be while she was in the therapy pool. She was told it could be put right up against the wall. Excuse us? Do you mean the wall next to the recreation pool where the children are going to be playing so they can easily hop on her chair and maneuver into the water? That wall? During the tour, I was initially told that my friend's wheelchair placement was an operational issue. That was corrected, and I was told someone would help by placing it in the office. During the tours, the locker rooms were not available for viewing, but Sean confirmed there would only be 1 accessible bathroom, but was quick to point out the family changing rooms that, by the way, were accessible, but of course the signage wasn't going to read that. They were going to be for the specific use of families. Now, in an attempt to placate me, Tori told me that all I had to do was call when I was coming, and he would make sure to put a sign on a designated family changing room with my name on it. He also made the same promise for a handicap accessible spot. I told him I was going to hold him to it. God help everybody else with a disability. Your consideration of my perspective and your attention this evening empowers me. God bless every veteran who ever served for my right to stand here and speak. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joy. Appreciate it. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Scott Harrisman, Sioux Falls. Probably wasn't going to speak, but Joy came up here to talk about something. Speaking of the Midco Aquatic Center, first of all, Mayor, several months ago, Councilor Jamison asked you to stop telling the public that we are paying cash for the Midco Aquatic Center. We are not. We got a bond repayment from the levies of $18 million that we are using to build the aquatic center. That is borrowed money that needs to be paid back. That is not cash. You recently said it again in a Channel 16 program. We are not paying cash for the Midco Aquatic Center. It is absolutely not true. Secondly, I'd like to talk about what Joy talked about, the camera incident. I was there as well. I had asked Tony Wiseman, Sioux Falls Construction, if he had received any money yet so far for building the public building. He did not answer my question. I asked him if the other media, KDLT, Kello, KSFY, and Argus, had to sign a special waiver to go and take film footage of the Midco Aquatic Center. He could not answer my question. The thing is that whether you believe we're journalists or not, as a person of the public, we should have a right to take a look at our building. We're paying money for it. We've given them millions of dollars already. I know we have. They wouldn't be building this building and waiting for their $34 million paycheck at the end. They couldn't do that. They couldn't do that as a business. But as for the media, you know, it really makes me kind of laugh, because in South Dakota, there's no rules on being a journalist. There's no place to sign up. There's no special accreditation that you need. I could get a a membership to the Newspaper Association, but a lot of people have a membership to the Newspaper Association that are not journalists. It doesn't mean anything. I received a press pass to the Bernie Sanders presidential campaign in which I was patted down by Secret Service and was let in as a press person. They knew what I had, a blog. Bruce also received a pass to the Hillary Clinton presidential campaign where he was patted down by Secret Service, and we registered ourselves as a blog. Federal judges have determined that blogs are also the media. And if the rest of the media in this town is allowed to go in and do film footage, we should be able to too. It's getting kind of old. I know for a fact that our local media goes directly to my site for news tips and news stories and news ideas. I know they do. If it weren't for my site, I don't believe anything would ever happen with the event center siting. If it weren't for my site, I don't believe that the Deputy Secretary of State would have been caught having a personal business while he was supposed to be working for the Secretary of State. He would end up still working for him. I may not be the traditional media. I may not get millions of dollars from Sanford and Avera in advertising, but I'm still the media. On that note, I think that we were kind of promised a personal tour, and we are still waiting to hear when we're going to get that, because we deserve it. I want to, since I probably have a little time left, I want to talk about Tracy Turbeck's performance this afternoon. Well, he was very condescending towards the media and towards the public. First off, he said there was nobody here to listen to him. Well, the fiscal meeting is held in this gray area, sometime between 4:10 and 6:45, because it's after the informational. So nobody knows when it really starts. Secondly, people watch it on Channel 16. They watch it online. And so there are people paying attention very much. As for his numbers and him saying that everyone's got it wrong, the numbers are clear. We budgeted for a 7% increase in sales tax. We are at about 4.2%. Now, 3% of $100 is about $3. 3% of hundreds of millions of dollars, well, you do the math. It's a lot of money. And so it is a concern. He made it sound like the media made this up. He showed you the numbers. We budgeted for 7, we're at 4%. We should be concerned. So thank you and have a good night.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. Welcome.
Robert Colby. No, these are not treats for you. Visual aids as a this book was published in 1898, and it's a history of Minnehaha County. What can I do with it? I can look at it and I can get all the information that the person who generated the information wanted me to know. This was a reprint done in 1976 for the bicentennial. Same information, but a reprint. I talk about those two sorts of things. Today we've bought into the digital generation. I don't need a machine to get between me and the information here. Now, granted, I'm not adverse to digitization and all that goes with it, because it gives us access to things at a much greater rate, faster, and much more information. But the question is that the information you as a city council are generating today, like this book done in 1898, will anybody in 116, 17, 18 years from now be able to find that information when it's all contained digitally? If any of you have been doing any watching on research, the Library of Congress is trying to figure out what is the lifespan of digitization, and we don't know. They've taken CDs, whatever, from the same batch that was generated by the same company on the same day using the same materials and put vast amounts of information on both and subjected them to advanced aging. That's heat and cold and light and all that goes with that. And they found that one may retain the information as it was put on, and the other one goes south. A suggestion, maybe sometimes we have to go back to the old days. We've seen where information that we have is accessible from anybody, anywhere in the world. And what would the city do if their information gets hacked and somebody says, you know, for about $200,000, I'll let you have all your information back? What will you do? Do you pay? Do you say, go to hell? Either way, they run the show because they may just take the money and run. What we need to do is not buy into the digitization and think that it is the be-all and end-all. Maybe we have to do the old castle with the moat. The only thing that we do is we put information in, and we put it in manually. It doesn't come in from the internet, because anything that comes in off the internet or through someone else's computer will contain little bugs and beasties that can destroy the information that we are trying to save. This is probably going a little longer than I would like, but I don't want you to think like I do. I want you to think about this. We've bought into it. Now we have to deal with the negatives. When we bought into the digitization, all we bought was all the positives: speed, volume, access. We should be, you should be, all government entities should be generating information in 4 or 5 copies to be readily available to the public, 1 put away or 2 or 3 put away in archives. Now, with that in mind, thank you very much. I hope you had a good 4th of July, and I hope that the summer goes better than it has been today.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council? Welcome.
Bruce Danielson, Sioux Falls. First off, thank you, Joy. That's nice to know that people are trying to pay attention to what we're doing. Was trying to listen to the information this afternoon and made me think about 5 words. One of them is truthiness. And another one was respect. Another one was shame, rights, and locations. And it's, you know, that's what kept coming back to me with everything that was going on, from discussion of the ambulance, the stories that I'm putting together that are going to be coming on a video that might blow some of your minds by how poor our ambulance service is working, and the abuse that some of these people have received. It's really shocking. And it takes, as I'm putting the video together and I'm getting ready to post it, the people that are running the ambulance system should be shocked. They should be appalled that they're even in this town. And this council should be appalled that these people are even here. The truthiness, the respect that the ambulance service is having toward the individuals that they're picking up. Just that letter, I sent all of you a copy of that letter that was posted in the Argus Leader this week. Because if you've got somebody that fell down steps and the ambulance service requires them to walk up and down steps until they finish breaking their hip, that's pretty sad. I have an individual that I'm working with, a Korean War vet, who is required to go to the VA for his care. He has no money. He barely can pay the taxes on his old trailer house and his beat up old car. And he gets a ride to the hospital in the ambulance because he's in such excruciating pain that he has to go and call the ambulance. He gets part way to the VA, and the ambulance stops at some corner, shuts off the lights, and says, we can't take you to the VA. They're not taking anybody in their 24-hour emergency room. We have to take you to one of the other 2 hospitals. Now, that other hospital bill is coming in to him because the VA won't pay it. The VA won't pay the ambulance charge. And it's all because of the greed that's developed from the ambulance service. This is a disgusting operation. I've had a couple experiences with my own family with the ambulance service, and I'm appalled by it. There's no shame. We have rights in this town. The things that happened last year with the whole contract situation with MedStar, we keep bringing in out-of-town individuals. We keep franchising. We keep contracting out all of our economic growth. So we don't get any money that actually even stays in this town. Jay Major, God bless him, he's working out of Brandon, and he's trying to hold together a business. He's tried for years. He would keep the money in the community because he's here. I didn't come here tonight to talk about Jay, but it really bothers me to keep seeing all of these things that we have no economic growth. So now Tracy Turbeck is there and wasting our time this afternoon at the fiscal, according to him, because, well, there's nobody in the room. Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, that's disgusting, because we're watching on TV because we have lives that we have to work with. You know that we're here on a regular basis. There's a lot of people that watch Channel 16 or the internet, and they want to know what's going on in this community. I get a lot of requests for information all the time because we are here. We're trying to do things. We're trying to pass on information. But when you have somebody that comes and says what he says, and he walks out of meetings, when we get asked to meetings, all we catch is his hindsight going out of a meeting that we were requested to be at, and he was requested to be at, and the entire group of Kendra and the bunch all left that same room. This administration has no respect for the citizens of Sioux Falls. And that, I'm going to save my last piece on locations for later in the meeting. Thank you.
Thanks, Bruce. Folks, anybody else want to engage the council?
Don't come back now. Here.
What kind of morons run this outfit?